Welcome! Thank you so much for joining me on the Socially Delightful podcast. I'm Jewel, human connection enthusiast and your host, and this show is all about delighting in yourself, delighting in socializing and in others, and creating truly supportive, delightful friendships and relationships, even in our modern world with our modern stress. In this podcast, we have fun creating a new culture of living in social delight. Now let's dive into how we're going to do that today.
Hello! Welcome back to the Socially Delightful podcast. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me today. I know that you have a full life, and I know that there's an abundance of podcasts and resources out there, and I'm delighted and I'm really honored that you came to listen to this one. So today's topic is, and I know I say this a lot, okay, that it's near and dear to my heart, but this one is near and dear to my heart and hypes me the heck up. All right? This one I feel so passionately about. I wish everyone knew this. This would have changed, oh my goodness, years of social anxiety for me. Oh my gosh, because I don't know if y'all have heard me say this before, but I actually never identified as having social anxiety, even though I was a socially anxious, perfectionistic extrovert. Yeah, because there's no real such thing as an introverted extrovert. There's a confident introvert and a confident extrovert, and there's a socially anxious introvert and a socially anxious extrovert. We just mix them all up and we blend introversion with social anxiety because a lot of times when you're socially anxious, you avoid people or you feel like you have to endure social settings. And introverts can sometimes feel drained by social settings, so we kind of blend them together, but they are separate. I didn't plan on talking about that today, but it's interesting, right? Anyway, this would have saved me years of pain, would have helped me release so much shame. And so I'm so excited to bring it to you today. We are going to be talking about how you can be confident and you socially anxious. Yep. We're going to be talking about what self-esteem, what confidence is, and we're going to be talking about the actual opposite of social anxiety and what really social anxiety is about. And y'all, it's going to blow your freaking mind. Like, you were not going to expect it. And it might have you cracking up. It's so interesting. So I'm going to dive into it today, but this topic is one near and dear to my heart. I know I always say that, but it's true. And if this is something that y'all have more questions about, let me know. I want to answer your questions as much as possible on this podcast. So if you have a story, if you have a question about confidence, social anxiety, self-esteem, hit me up. It was so fun for me to answer the question that listeners submit, and we had another one come in, so I'm so excited about that. So don't hesitate to do so. It's super fun. Okay. Oh, and lastly, before I jump in, hear me out. Hold on. Pause. Wait a second. If you have been listening to the podcast week after week, you know I've been talking about my one-on-one container, and I want to tell y'all a little bit on why I've been talking about that. One, because it's so special and it's so fun. And next year, I am starting an internship. I'm in a grad school program right now to get my master's in social work, to become a therapist, work with clients long term on like severe social anxiety, emotionally immature parents, and shame, suicidal ideation, which I do not do any of that now, to be very, 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 very frank. But that's something that I want to do later on. So anyway, I have to have an internship starting in January of 2025. And time is a thing because it's on top of my school course load. And then it's only going to get worse. Then the internship hours double the following year. And then after that, I have to work full time in the field in order to get my license. So I'm going to be slowly phasing out my one-on-one. I'm going to be offering more options for ways to work with me that actually fit into my schedule, and I'm really working on making sure they are going to provide you with like true excellent care and guidance. So I'm making sure that I include things like worksheets and check-ins. I have surveys right now where I know how my clients are doing, beginning, middle, and end. And it's also so fun. That's how I know I have such a great success rate too, for evidence reasons, because I have check-in points for that. And I'm very hands-on. Any of my clients will tell you that I'm very hands-on with them, where I'm really like guiding you, looking through your file to make sure we're talking about the things important to you, et cetera, et cetera. So I have honestly been resistant to doing other offers because I love that high touch experience so much. And I love my sliding scale. So what a sliding scale is I have a lower price point, a middle price point, and a higher price point to work with me one-on-one. And you might be like, why might you have different prices? Well, I want to be as accessible to people as possible to help people become their most socially delighted self, right? Like everyone deserves that. So I have those different offers because somebody might be in a financial situation where they are not able to pay or invest as much, and somebody else might totally be able to. So that's what I've been doing recently, and I'm phasing this out. This will be probably the last time things could change, but the last time I'm expecting to really be selling my one-on-one offers, my one-on-one offer right now, which is this program guidance. I tailor the program to you for social anxiety, for delight, for radical self-acceptance, for connecting with others, whether that's in conversations or meaningful friendships, to become a super connector. I tailor all of that to you. And I'm phasing that out because I'm literally not going to be able to have time for it. And because of that, I'm also getting rid of the sliding scale and just going to have one price. And honestly, I'm going to have other ways that are cheaper to work with me, but they will not be as high touch because I will not be able to do that very much with, I won't be able to do that as much with as much people as I do right now, being full-time, working with people one-on-one for full-time. So I just want to give like really clarity on where I'm at, what I'm doing, and why. So if this topic today really resonates with you and you want guidance with it and you've been thinking about working with me, this is not like a marketing ploy, but truly now is the best time to get in. I want to work with you. So do that before I get rid of my sliding scale. If you are somebody that, would benefit from more of a financial break, where maybe you are, in a different socioeconomic status, that's totally fine. That's why we made it, because everybody deserves this. So I really encourage y'all to do that, because I'm going to have other offers and things, but it won't be this high touch anymore because I just literally won't be able to have capacity for that. And if you might be like, okay, then if you care about accessibility, which I don't, none of you are like this. This is a mean girl, I think, about saying this. But I can imagine somebody might be like, well, if you care about accessibility, then why are you getting rid of the sliding scale? Why don't you just limit your spots? It's because I need to be able to afford to go work for free for somebody else to get my license, because that's what you do in school. So I need to be able to afford to do that. And likewise, too, if you know of somebody that could really resonate from any of the topics, especially the one today, now is truly the time. Okay, sorry for that soapbox. I think it's important to have y'all be informed, though. Let's talk about today's topic. So, social anxiety. What is it like really in the first place? What is confidence? What are we talking about today? So, social anxiety, we have found that what it is in the brain on like a biological, chemistry, physiological level is that it's an overactive frontal limbic system. So it's an overactive frontal limbic system. And you might think, okay, so people that are not socially anxious have a underactive frontal limbic system. Y'all ain't ready for this. Are you ready? That's not the case. Confident people, it's not that they have an underreaction to what's going on in the brain. Psychopaths have an underreaction. That's right. The opposite of social anxiety is not confidence, it's psychopathy. Yep. 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 It's psychopathy. So it is not confidence. And when we talk about confidence is like this completely different thing, truly, but it's not caring what people think, so much so you don't actually care about other people. This is why I get so frustrated, by the way. And it's just me, myself, and I when I'm scrolling on my phone and I see people be like, just stop caring what people think. No, you're not a psychopath. It's okay that you care what people think. Okay? It's just caring what people think is the part of you that also has you look around a room and be like, oh my gosh, that person, they didn't get to finish their story. I want to make sure I hear them. The part of you that cares what people think is also the part of you that has social awareness, right? Where you can be aware that you're not going to walk around naked or something, right? That you wear clothes. It's a good thing to have social awareness, to pick up on social cues. And I am not belittling anybody that does not have that ability. I'm not saying they're a psychopath. Do not get it twisted. However, it is a good thing to have social awareness, to have empathy, right? So, one, let's just start with that. Like the opposite of social anxiety, psychopathy. So, what that means is that we all have somewhat of a reaction in our frontal limbic system when it comes to social events that allows us to be socially aware, socially alert, which is not social anxiety, and we all have alertness. Okay, social alertness. Not a bad thing. Nothing we have to be hard on ourselves for. It's really such a beautiful, good thing. The reason why social anxiety really becomes a problem is because it runs off of perfectionism, and it's you need to be perfect. I need to be perfect. I need to say the right thing at the right time in the right way to get the right reaction from other people, right? It thrives off perfectionism. I want you to think of a spectrum, okay? And maybe there's like high social anxiety on one side of the spectrum, and then on the other side, there's psychopathy. But then, let's move away from psychopathy a little bit towards the middle, towards the other side of social anxiety. And that is social alertness and empathy. And I want to use alertness on purpose here because it might have sensations of anxiety be included in that, but we all have that. That's okay. When you walk into a room and don't know anybody, you could be, and honestly, I could say from experience, like you could be so secure and be brimming with esteem and self confidence, and you're still going to be socially alert, right? Like, a way I like to think about this is Taylor Swift has social alertness, Beyonce, people that we deem really confident, like Kevin Hart has social alertness. Okay? So it doesn't mean anything is wrong. It's just our brain being aware of when we walk into a room, oh, I don't know these people. Am I safe around these people? And what's appropriate? What do I socially know? Like, what am I socially aware of in this group that's appropriate for how I can show up? That is such a good thing. We do not want that to go away. Social anxiety on the other end of the spectrum really becomes a problem because it's basically self-consciousness on steroids. Social anxiety is just perfectionism, and being really self-conscious, and then we develop an inner critic that gets really loud that's telling us we need to be perfect. Okay? Now, a lot of what I'm talking about today is from Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, my favorite person ever. She did a lot of studying on this for years and years and years of her life, and we are so grateful, aren't we? So, thank you, Dr. Ellen Hendrickson. I don't know why you'd ever be on my corner of the internet, but if that ever crosses paths, I love you. anyway, so one thing that she talks about is that because it's a super heightened level of self-consciousness on steroids, because it's running off of perfectionism and I need to be perfect, it centers around what she calls a fatal flaw. Okay? Now I'm going to pause here for a second because I also just want to emphasize something that I just said. And that is, you heard me say, oh, right, it runs off on perfectionism. how many perfectionists or self-proclaimed perfectionists do y'all know that say that they're really confident or are powerhouses of people? How many people? I got to go to I don't know if I want to call it a retreat, but it was really just like a workshop of a bunch of my colleagues, and we really worked on, businesses and stuff like that. And everybody there, y'all, everybody there was like so successful and so good at what they did and such experts in their field and really just doing awesome in their business stuff. And there were businesses all over the place. We had coaches that helped with nutrition. We had people that were copywriters. And we had this powerhouse of a woman who I don't think anybody would ever say that she wasn't confident. All right. And she has a really successful business helping and supporting VPs, like vice presidents of companies, like helping them lead and do well in that role. So cool, right? And one thing that she said at some point was, yeah, I'm a bit shy. And I was like, oh, there it is. Because you want to know what shyness is? Shyness is a shorthand way of saying, I'm kind of socially anxious, right? It's not maybe I'm like suffering completely from anxiety, but I'm kind of socially anxious. And obviously, shyness means different things to different people. That was so fun for me because I was like, oh, yeah, just a great reminder of where social anxiety really comes from and how it has nothing to do with confidence or competence or your ability to create something. This woman has created a massive business. She was super fit. She was like, yeah, I love working out. I spend all this time with my kids. Like, just really like someone that we would stereotypically look at and be like, oh my gosh, so successful. And she was like, yeah, I'm pretty shy. Right. Good to know. Right. And so, on some level, whether she's aware of it or not, she has learned how to hold that and still show up in the world. So, I just think that's really important for everybody to know. But anyway, Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, back to the fatal flaw, says that we have a fatal flaw, and this is what social anxiety on the high end of the spectrum, where you're very socially anxious, struggling with social perfectionism, that social anxiety is about protecting the fatal flaw from being seen. It's us trying to make sure that it's not quote unquote revealed. Okay? Because if people know this thing about me, if they see my fatal flaw, if it is revealed to other people, then they will see that I am defective or deficient or incompetent in some way. Then they will see that I am less than, and I will feel shame. Okay? Now, a fatal flaw. Some examples of fatal flaws are like, we all have our own brand, so I encourage you to discover what's yours, but I'm going to tell you a bit about mine. I have, and I got to be real with y'all, I don't know exactly. I'm learning a lot about this in my own free time, but I either have ADHD, ADD, attention deficit disorder, or I have CPTSD, complex PTSD. I don't know, who knows? Anyway, I have one of those where it impacts my ability to recall information. I am literally slower than other people because my processing speed, not less intelligent, but if like I'm playing a question game, for example, and you have to answer the question as fast as possible, I'm going to be slower at that than the neurotypicals in the room. Okay? And so for a long time, my fatal flaw, the thing that I was really worried people would see, is that I was stupid because I made it mean I'm not as intelligent. All right. And this showed up where I had past relationships where I thought people were geniuses. And I was like, oh, I really can't share my opinions. I can't share my theories. I can't talk to them about anything because I'm stupid. I don't want that to be revealed. And so I would get really anxious about it, even in my close romantic relationships. I would also not speak up in class because I didn't want to seem stupid. I would not put myself out there. I probably delayed starting a business for like 6 months because I didn't want people to think that I was stupid. Yeah. My business that originally, by the way, if you don't know the full story, I was like, oh, I'll just do this for fun on the side. Just for like a little fun thing. Help people feel more confident. But I did not understand social anxiety the way I do now. I had the privilege of living out of my car and driving around the country for almost a year. And I was like, oh, I'm going to blog about my opinions and the things that I'm learning and about the people that I meet. And it was such a massive chore to get myself to sit down and write it because I was so afraid that it would be revealed that I wasn't as intelligent as other people. Okay. Now, I had quite a few fatal flaws. I had a lot of shame that I had internalized, but so it's not just intelligence or things like that, but it's really the thing that you don't want people to see, the thing that you don't want to be revealed. And so we really want to conceal these things and not have people, right, notice our appearance or notice our social skills or that we have anxiety or whatever it may be, right? We want to not have people notice that because if they do, then we fear having really big emotions and really big, painful emotions of being exposed and feeling rejected, and feeling humiliated. We really want to avoid those. So this is so strong, and these emotions are so big that there was a survey done like 10 years ago, maybe even more than that now, where they asked people about public speaking, and people said that they would rather die than public speak. Why? Because they didn't want to feel those really big, painful emotions of exposed, of rejected, of humiliated, of shame, even, right? And this makes a lot of sense. We also know that rejection, when we feel rejected, it lights up in our brains the same way that it does when we feel physical pain. Like, of course, we want to avoid that shit. Right? So, of course, we want to conceal these things. We don't want to feel those big emotions. And so, I want you to notice as I'm describing this that social anxiety is less about fear, it has nothing on this level. We haven't even started talking about confidence, right? Social anxiety is about concealment. It's not about fear, and it's more about shame. It's more about shame of our thing getting revealed and other people seeing it. And again, our inner critic will get loud to try to protect our reveal. Right? Say the right thing at the right time, the right way, so they don't notice that you're socially anxious. Right? Be perfect. Make sure that you are funny and not laughing too loud. Make sure you are whatever it may be. Make sure you aren't the center of attention and stealing the limelight from everybody, but also that you are loud and being noticed in this group or like a talkative member in this group so that people don't notice your lack of social skills, right? So it gets loud to protect us from our thing that we feel shame about being revealed. It's for us to try to be perfect so we don't have to feel shame, so we don't have to feel exposed, rejected, humiliated. But after a long time of trying to conceal, trying to be perfect, really trying to hide your reveal, after doing that over and over again, not only is that going to result in you not having a great experience of your life and missing out on really great experiences in the world, but it's also going to hurt your confidence in the long run. it cuts into our ability to feel confident over some time. I'll tell you why. Because what confidence is, although it's not the opposite of social anxiety, self-confidence is the belief in your ability to perform specific tasks or handle situations successfully. And if over and over and over again, you were like, oh, I need to be perfect, which we can never be. I need to make sure nobody sees this thing. And you're in that protective state, most of the time, you're going to find something that you quote unquote did wrong because you're not perfect. Nobody is. Right? And, or you're going to be like, oh, they noticed a little bit. They noticed a little bit that I was socially anxious. They noticed I was feeling a little anxiety. Right? They judged my appearance. It's that hyper awareness, that self-consciousness on steroids that cuts into our ability to feel like we can handle the situations, that we can believe in our ability to perform a specific task. And that can make us feel less confident in other areas of our life. So, what really is self-confidence? Again, I just gave the definition, but again, it's about your belief in your abilities and your skills in particular areas, like socializing, or solving a problem, or presenting, or shooting a damn basketball hoop. Like, I don't know, I don't sport. Right? Of running, of working out, of even playing with kids, like being confident in your ability to do that. So it depends from situation to situation. And so this is why you can be really confident in yourself in a lot of different ways. You can be confident in yourself to run a business. You could be confident in yourself to create a really great proposal. You can be confident in yourself to even do some social things like present, right? I believe it was Johnny Carson said that he had such a bad anxiety that he made, don't quote me, I believe it was him. He made like the Johnny Carson show. He was like, that is like a structure, that is a performance. And he was really good at that, but he was not good at socializing outside of that structure. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Confidence is about skills and things like that. And so low confidence can really come from after the repeated experience of being self-conscious, socially anxious, socially perfectionistic, because it cuts into your belief in your ability to do things, right? And so that can even impact other areas besides just socializing as well, right? For a lot of people, as we've talked about in a previous episode, for a lot of people, this is why they get anxious around people that they know, their coworkers, even their friends, rather than getting anxious around strangers. There's less stakes. There's less stakes for something to be revealed, right? Again, this cuts in over time also because our inner critic is getting louder. Our inner critic is trying to quiet us, trying to perfect us and be like, you need to be perfect, you need to be better. And that is not self-confidence building, right? And that habit of having an inner critic then again shows up in other areas of your life. So what do we do then with this information? Well, one thing we want to do is we want to start building some more self-esteem. Self-esteem is your overall sense of self-worth or personal value. It reflects how much you appreciate and accept yourself as a person. Okay? It's more about your internal beliefs and your feelings about your own worth and not about your abilities, like confidence is, not about your accomplishments, like confidence can be. It's about how much you value yourself as a person. Okay? And so we might hear this and be like, okay, I kind of get it. A way to really think about this and really take this in is that low self-esteem can lead to self-doubt, feelings of inadequacy, and difficulty in handling criticism. Doesn't that sound like a cycle for social anxiety? Like, don't you think those things cycle together? I'm going to feel bad about myself. I'm going to feel shame. I'm going to have low self-esteem, and then I'm going to be socially anxious and socially perfectionistic so nobody sees it. and then it cycles, right? Because being socially perfectionistic, we just notice all the other ways that there's things wrong with us, or that, oh, they totally noticed this thing that I don't want revealed, and etc. Right? It's a vicious cycle. High self-esteem is associated with a positive outlook and a resilience in the face of challenges. A high self-esteem when it comes to social situations means that, oh, there's going to be like a little bit of awkwardness, period. And it doesn't mean anything about me. And I'm not responsible for the whole mood of this entire hangout with my friends right now. Right? A lot of times I've noticed that with my clients, that they make themselves responsible for if someone's having fun or if someone's interested. They really put it on themselves to make sure other people are having a good time, and or to make sure that the group has harmony, to make sure that the group is getting along. They put that on themselves. Right? And self-esteem, healthy self-esteem looks like, okay, they can be chill. They don't have to be like super excited and looking at me, beaming at me for me to feel worthy. They can feel chill. Or the group harmony, and if there's like an argument, it doesn't mean anything about me, right? Which sounds obvious as I'm saying it to you, but for a lot of people, like in their brains, or maybe even you in your brain, right? And for me in my old brain, that was very blurred. So this is why self-esteem is really what we're rooting for. We're not trying to go to self-confidence in order to outrun social anxiety. We, quote unquote, outrun social anxiety by building self-esteem, because self-esteem is, I'm worthy and valuable even though I'm not perfect. Self-esteem is, this social setting, this social situation doesn't have to go perfectly for me to have worth and for me to be kind to myself afterwards. Self-esteem is, I have this flaw and I'm still worthy and I accept myself. I've said this before, but it's kind of like, here are the ingredients that I have with my life. I could be really anxious about these these ingredients and be like, oh, people can't notice that I have this ingredient over here, right? They can't notice that, I don't know, like I have nutmeg over here. I need to hide that. Social anxiety is, oh, these ingredients aren't good enough and I need to make them look really presentable and hide things. Whereas self-esteem is, here are the ingredients that I have. How can I cook the most delicious meal without having to change these ingredients, right? And these ingredients, y'all, they are your bodies, they are your childhood, they are your experiences, they're even our socialization on some level. How can I be accepting of that? That's what's going to actually help you quell social anxiety. That's what's going to actually help you over time build confidence in your ability to handle social situations and social settings. And it's really that simple. So I know that this was such a huge realization for me when I started learning about this. I learned about this before the pandemic happened because I was so sick of having this experience and from feeling alone in it and being like, though there's something wrong with me. I realized even before the pandemic hit, I was like, I do not want to feel this way for the rest of my life. Then the pandemic came and I was like, hell fucking no, I really don't want to feel this way. And truly, by doing everything I talked about in this episode and that I help my clients do, shame feels like a heaviness in my body, at least for me. I shouldn't say it feels this way as if it's a fact of law, but for me, shame felt so heavy. It felt like I was carrying this heavy backpack around, and it was so painful. It was so tender in a way that whenever I would go to a social setting, y'all have probably heard me say this before, but I would go to a social setting, get in my car, and immediately cry afterwards. Partially because that was my habit. Overthinking is a habit, but also because I was not perfect in that social setting. I could never be because it's not real. And so I was always letting myself down. I was always thinking, oh my God, they saw that I wasn't stupid. And again, I had a lot of things I didn't want to be revealed about me. All right. And it wasn't until I radically started accepting myself, until I started building this safe, tender place within myself, started really building my self-esteem and my ability to talk nurturingly to myself, that I not only grew to enjoy socializing more and became more confident, but honestly, I really started enjoying who the hell I am. I've always had great friends. One of my great friends is my editor that edits this podcast. And in the past, with this great friend group that I had, I could not feel very close to them because I was so afraid all of my flaws were being revealed all of the time. And so they secretly had to hate me or think that I was less than, or they saw how I was defective and not good enough. All right. And now I feel so much more close and supported by these people. I am even goofier than how I was in the past. And I find so much joy and lightness in things. And not one time did I work on my confidence to get there, my confidence in my abilities to get there. Truly, truly. The confidence built and came from after believing in my abilities, after doing it multiple times of, I'm going to go to the social event, I'm going to be kind to myself afterwards, I'm not going to make myself wrong, I use certain accepting, like radical self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-esteem building tools with my clients. And after using those over and over again, truly on myself, then I started having confidence in my ability to handle social settings because I was like, I know I'm not going to be a dick to myself after this. I know I'm going to be kind to myself after this. So I can show up and be real to you right now. It helped me be more authentic in my life because I'm not trying to be perfect anymore. I'm not thinking I have all these fatal flaws. So I know this helped me so much, and I just would love to hear y'all's stories because I know I say this a lot, like there's episodes that really touch my heart, and it's because they do. All of this work touches my heart. But I know this episode in particular can really be emotional because it really gives us answers on problems that affected me in my everyday life, and I was really going about them the wrong way. I was really, doing power woman poses in the mirror and really looking for how do I be charismatic and Googling that so that way people would like me, and really trying to force myself to fake confidence. And this is why it never worked, because you need that soft space within yourself. It also, by the way, I know I'm going on a little rant, but this also helped me appreciate that I'm empathetic and at times care what people think. That is a good thing, that I am sensitive and empathetic and socially aware and considerate. And for any of you listening that are like, but I really do want to care less what people think, the reason why that becomes a problem is because you're taking in their opinion in a way where you're like, oh, it must be true. And honestly, the reason why you're doing that is because you're seeing their opinion through the lens of your reveal, through the lens of your shame, right? Because I'm telling you what, I didn't have to focus on caring less what people thought to care what I thought more. I had to accept myself and build self-esteem to care more about what I thought rather than putting so much stock in other people's opinions. Truthfully. So to kind of rephrase that, I didn't have to try to care less about what people thought. I naturally started caring less about what people thought because I was having radical self-acceptance with myself. And I wasn't viewing their opinions as, oh, they must be right because they are showing how I am these things I'm afraid of being. They aren't reflecting back to me with their opinions that I am not good enough and that I am defective and that I am stupid or I am a bad person or whatever yours may be. Okay? All right. Again, I know this episode might bring a lot of emotions for a lot of different people. Please let me know. I really want to hear your feedback. So at Connection with Jewel on Instagram, on TikTok, I'm trying to grow my TikTok. It's a goal. and share your heart and your story with me if it feels good to you. Because I think it would be really fun to, obviously with like blurring out your names and any private details, to share this with each other, because it's such an experience, again, that nobody really talks about and goes into. And it could have you feeling so alone and so confused. And so for other people to know that we are really in this together, there's a community of us, it could be so helpful. All right, y'all, I will see you in the next episode. If you are interested in working with me, then I will see you sooner rather than later. Go ahead and sign up for a consult at connectionwithjewel.com for all the information there if you're curious. All right, so much love.
Thanks for joining me on the Socially Delightful podcast. I'm Jewel, and I'm truly so grateful that you came and hung out with me today. If this podcast meant something to you, it would mean so much to me if you left me a review so that way I could keep making content that you love. And if you really want to make my whole day, share this podcast to your Instagram story and tag me at Connection with Jewel so I can shout you out. Or send me a message and let me know what resonated with you or what you want to hear next. And I'll see you at the next episode.